this computer. And I'm going to mute all, but feel free to unmute if you have a question or comment. There are a few things I want to share about this week's portion. We're in the second portion in the book of Leviticus, the portion Tzav, which in the Eitz Chaim Chumash is appropriately on page 613. I always laugh when I get to this. This happens to be my oldest daughter's bat mitzvah portion. So for her bat mitzvah 20 years ago, exactly 20 years ago, it was appropriate for a bat mitzvah to have 613. You know, in Hebrew, tar yag is the abbreviation for 613, the amount of mitzvot there are. So just funny how it all works out with page numbers. Okay, so on 613, Vayidaber Adonai el Moshe lemor, God spoke to Moses saying, Tzav et Aharon v'et banav lemor, command Aaron and his sons, saying, Zot Torah ha'olah. This is the law of the olah. The olah, one kind of offering. Olah in Hebrew would be to go up. So this is the go up offering. It's translated as burnt offering, probably because how it is done on the altar, completely consumed. But olah, so it is simply is an offering. Not necessarily, literally in Hebrew, it's an offering to, based on the root, ayin lamed hey, to go up. Like to have an aliyah at the Torah is the same root, or to make aliyah to Israel, to go up to Israel. So it's the same root. So this is the Torah of the olah. Hi ha'olah al mokdah al mizbeach kol halayla ad haboker ve'esh hamizbeach tukad bo. So this is the Torah, this is the law of the olah, which is the olah that shall remain where it is burned. Right. So it shall remain really should be in brackets. So, because literally it would be, this is the Torah of the olah, which is the olah on its burning place on the altar all night until the morning, and the fire of the altar shall shall burn it, or keep going on it. So the Hebrew is kind of awkward. We'll look at the commentary in a moment. I just want to point out there was an asterisk right after the word mokdah. If you see that, the word itself, if you look at the letter mem, the first letter of the word mokdah, you'll see that the mem is written smaller than the rest of the word. And that's to point out what the asterisk says, the small print there, mem ze'ira, a little mem, lefi nusachim mekubalim, according to accepted versions. In other words, you look in a Torah scroll, that's what this means. You look in a Torah scroll, you'll see when the word mokdah is written in the Torah scroll, the letter mem is written smaller. Why? We don't know. It's just the scribal tradition that is passed down from one Torah scroll to the next over the centuries. So no matter which Torah scroll you're looking at around the world, you get to this place in the Torah, the mem is written smaller, and that's the way it has to be. And if not, it's not a kosher Torah. So the scribe has to follow the scribal tradition and keep the letter mem small. So our Chumash just points that out. Okay, so the olah, the burnt offering, is the one so-called because it is burnt to a crisp on the altar. And that's, so now let's look below the line, where it says chapter 6, verse 2, command Aaron, this is the ritual of the burnt offering. The Talmud reads the Hebrew word Torah, ritual of, I translated it as law of, as Torah for. So this is the Torah for the burnt offering. Meaning, in our day, this is a quote from the Talmud, in our day, the study of Torah takes the place of bringing animal offerings. So in other words, this is an allusion that the verse itself is alluding to the idea that Torah in general, that is, Torah and Torah study, can be a substitute for the burnt offering, or more generally, for all sacrifices, right? The book of Leviticus is describing to us the sacrificial worship system. The rabbis, who mostly lived at a time after the temple was destroyed in Jerusalem, were living in a time without the temple, without the opportunity to bring sacrifices. So what would be, how the rabbis' main primary concern was to ensure that Judaism would continue into the future and survive the destruction of the temple. And the rabbinic system is such that it is Torah study, prayer. You have prayer instead of sacrifice, but you also have Torah study to replace sacrifice as well. So Zot Torah Ha'olah, this is the Torah that replaces the sacrifice. You play around with the Hebrew in such a way you could derive that lesson. So the commentary continues, in our day, the study of Torah takes the place of bringing animal offerings. The reference there, BT, means Babylonian Talmud. Men means menachot, that's the section, which is offerings, a one word for a type of offering, page 110a. I just was curious because of the high number that could have been near the end of the tractate. So let me just pull the book off my shelf to show you what I mean. The traditional printing of the Talmud has 20 volumes. This is volume 17, and it contains 2 tractates. The first word here says Zavachim, which are sacrifices, and the second word there is Menachot, which is like Mincha, which we'll read about in this portion, the grain offering. So there are 2 tractates in this volume, and tractate Menachot, just one second here, page 110. Let me get there. Here we go. Just want to show you what a page of Talmud looks like. This is a traditional page of Talmud, okay? You have the Talmud itself in the middle here. This just happens to be a large section of Talmud. It's written in a combination of Hebrew and Aramaic. The commentary on this side, where my index finger is, not my thumb, right here, this is Rashi, the main commentator who lived 1,000 years ago. He is the one who enables this to be understood more clearly. This is written in outline form. Rashi kind of fills in the gaps of the outline to make it more understandable. And where my thumb is are Rashi's grandchildren, called the Tosafot, additional commentaries to this. And then you have other commentaries on the bottom of the page and other footnotes telling us where the particular verse is in the Bible. that kind of thing. So Menachot 110, which we know that's the page number, because in Hebrew, 110 would be Kuf Yud, Kuf being 100, Yud being 10. So this is page 110, and it happens to be the very last page of the tractate. So if the tractate is saying, in our day, the study of Torah takes the place of bringing animal offerings, it's interesting that the rabbis waited until the last page of that portion of that section to bring that up. Right? So it teaches us about what the rabbis think about sacrifices. So this is the only two sections of the Talmud dealing with sacrifices is Zevachim and Menachot. Okay, so the rabbis waited until the very end of the second section to say everything now that we've been studying all along for 110 pages of Menachot and however many pages of Zevachim, to understand exactly how to do those sacrifices. Everything now we should understand, the study of Torah takes its place. Okay, so I think the rabbis pedagogically waited on purpose for the end and not say this at the beginning. They could have said at the very beginning, why are we studying these sacrifices? The temple isn't standing in Jerusalem anymore. Why bother learning about the sacrifices? Torah study can take its place. And then you don't have to study Zevachim or Menachot. But they intentionally wanted to ensure that people learn those sections because they prayed every day, as we do, for the rebuilding of the temple in Jerusalem. So until the temple is restored, we study Torah. But we can't wait for the day until the temple is restored. So they waited to the last page for this comment to ensure that we study Zevachim and Menachot anyway. And for the rabbis, they're closer to the time when the temple was destroyed, thinking that maybe in their day they would witness the rebuilding of the temple in Jerusalem. The last of the rabbis of the Talmudic period is from the year 500 CE, so 430 years after the destruction of the temple. We're living 1800 years even after that. So the likelihood of the temple being rebuilt is less likely today than it was in the rabbis' time. But still, the rabbis teach us we still need to study about the sacrifices and learn about it because of someday maybe the temple is going to be rebuilt and we need to know how to offer those sacrifices again. Okay, so we go on in this comment. If so, then why command Aaron? That is, in other words, if the rabbis are teaching, if Torah study replaces, Torah study takes the place of animal offerings, then why bother with the whole system anyway? Because Aaron might be reluctant to tell the people that the study of Torah is equivalent to bringing sacrifices. That would make the role of the Kohanim less prominent, as it would present the people with an alternative form of worship. So the rabbis are even saying, even in the time when the temple was standing, there was Torah study, which is just as important. So to force Aaron to learn about Torah study and to teach Torah to the people is important to say, I'm not the be-all and end-all of worship, Aaron might needs to say to himself, that I am not it is not through me that you'll find the only way to communicate with God. We have Torah study as that option too. Okay. The other comment that's here on this verse about the fire keeping burning on it is the fire on the altar has kept going on it. The last Hebrew word can also be read within him. The Eish HaMizbeach Tukad Bo. So the fire of the altar should be burning in it. So the word bo is, from context, should be it. referring to the Mizbeach, the altar being the it, or it could be Aaron. And that's this is what Moses is saying to Aaron. So either the fire keeps burning on the altar, or the fire keeps burning in him, in Aaron. So that's what the commentary is focusing on. How do we understand it as the fire burning in him? This prompted the comment that the fire on the altar must be paralleled by a fire in the heart of the officiating priest, whose enthusiasm for the sacred nature of the work must never be lost. Right? So the bringing the sacrifices should not be seen as work, should not be seen as just your daily routine, but rather it should be new and fresh every single time, done as if this is the first time doing it, and how excited and passionate the Kohen should be in doing it every single time. That's the lesson of the fire burning in him, right? And also, the commentary goes on, the congregation, for its part, must recognize its responsibility to see that the enthusiasm and dedication of the clergy is never extinguished. So it's interesting. Rabbis wrote the commentary, conservative movement rabbis wrote the commentary below the line, rabbis who were pulpit rabbis. So Rabbi Harold Kushner and Rabbi David Wolpe, two preeminent congregational rabbis in America. Harold Kushner, of course, known for his book, When Bad Things Happen to Good People, right? Why do bad things happen to good people? He was a rabbi for many, many years in Natick, Massachusetts, a suburb of Boston, and David Wolpe is retiring in June from many, many years as rabbi of Sinai Temple in Los Angeles, and he's a prominent author and spokesperson for Judaism in general in America. So they, as editors of this below the line commentary, are also thinking about what it means to be a pulpit rabbi and the fire necessary within the pulpit rabbi to keep the job exciting and fresh and keep the fire alive, to make the fire accessible to everyone in the community, right? So when I kind of write it in, that would be the time, and assuming that would be noticeable by the congregation, that would be the time for the congregation to have a meeting with me. Jonah, it seems like you're writing it in and not passionate. We need to do something about it. That's the note here that the commentary is alluding to. So it's a partnership. The Kohen and the community of Israel needs to work together to keep that passion alive. And I think the third element, which the commentary doesn't say, would be also that every member of the community that brings the sacrifice has to do so in a fiery, passionate way as well, right? In other words, it's Pesach, let's get ready for the Passover offering, and we did it last year, so it's just rote, let's go through the routine. All ritual can't be seen as routine. It has to be seen as fresh every single day, which is hard to do, especially for those of us who try to pray daily. It's very hard to make that prayer fresh and meaningful every single time. Okay, so but that's the idea here about Eish HaMizbeach to Kadbo, that the fire of the altar should be burning in him. Okay. The next comment I wanted to share is really one of my favorite teachings in the entire Torah. And it's kind of bizarre, but it's still it's just something about this. So verse 3, we're on page 614. V'lavash hakohen mido vad. The Kohen should wear his linen garment. Umichnase vad yilbash al bisaro. And linen pants he should wear on his body. Veherim et hadeshen, and he should lift up the ashes. Asher tochal ha'esh et ha'olah, that the fire consumed the burnt offering al hamizbeach, on the altar. V'samo, and he should put it eitzel hamizbeach, next to the altar. Okay, so the Kohen has to wear linen garments to take the ashes off the altar and put them next to the altar. And then verse 4, ufashat et begadav, he should take off his clothes, velavash begadim acherim, and he should wear other clothes. Vehotzi et hadeshen el michutz lamachaneh, and he should take away the ashes to outside the camp, el makom tahor, to a holy place. Okay, so the Kohen, dressed in linen, his regular Kohen garments, he's wearing that to take the ashes off the altar, and then changes his clothes into regular clothes to take those ashes outside of the Mishkan, but also outside of the community to a designated pure place. So in other words, every day, the Kohen has to do this, clean up the ashes every day. Now, so imagine all of us who prefer a charcoal grill, right? Remember barbecuing on a charcoal grill. So when you're done, you got to let the ashes burn out, right? Before you're even going to touch them until they're cool. And the next time you want to use the grill, you got to clean those ashes out first. So usually when you do that, it's a dirty job. No matter how careful you are, your hands are going to get dirty. Your clothes are going to get dirty, possibly from the powder, the dust cloud that forms from those ashes, right? So this is barbecue on the altar, right? You have an animal being burnt to a crisp on the altar. So that's barbecue to the nth degree. And so there are ashes there. So those ashes are going to make you dirty, but he's still wearing the linen garment that's getting dirty from removing the ashes. And then he changes to regular clothes or other clothes, as it says in the Hebrew, changes to other clothes to take those ashes outside the camp. Okay, now let's take a look at the commentary below the line. The first act of the Kohen every morning is to put on ordinary clothes and remove the ashes of the previous night's sacrifice. This ensures that he never forgets his link to the ordinary people who spend their days in mundane pursuits. Right? So we might think that the Kohen is involved in the holy pursuit of preparing the animal and slaughtering the animal and sacrificing the animal on the altar. So all that prep work and the actual ritual itself, that's what we think the Kohen is involved in. But the Kohen is also involved in cleaning up after it. And that the cleaning up is also as holy as all the prep work and the act of the sacrifice itself. So the prep work, the act of the sacrifice, and the cleanup are all holy. And all are integral to the work of the Kohen and to show the average Israelite that every single part of the preparation, from the preparation of the animal to the slaughter of the animal, to the sacrifice of the animal, to the cleanup after the animal, is all part and parcel of holy business. Okay? So, why were the ashes treated with such reverence? The commentary goes on, it symbolizes the idea that what was holy yesterday must be treated with respect today as well. Right? So that the leftovers, the ashes themselves are still holy, and they should be treated with as much respect as the animal was when it was alive. So I kind of like, and then also by extension, the menial work that's involved in synagogue today, that this is what is attracting me to this verse. The menial work is just as important as the upfront community part of the work. So in other words, the part of the job that I really like, I'm just obviously teaching is what I like, and leading Shabbat services and teaching, preaching on Shabbat morning, and my pastoral work as well, weddings, funerals, God forbid, all of that I like a lot. Okay, I wouldn't be doing it for so long and for so many years if I didn't like it. But I'm telling you, the part that provides me, even with the most spirituality, is when I change the Torah scrolls from the regular covers to the white covers. Let me just show you what I mean by the pictures. I have different virtual backgrounds I could share. So this is what the no, you can't really see it because I don't have a green screen, so never mind. You know what the ark looks like every Shabbat, but you also know what it looks like on the high holidays when they're all white Torah covers, right? So I'm the one who changes the covers, and I do that intentionally because, it could be, I could say, religious committee, we need you to come in to change the Torah covers, and it could be a whole committee work. But I like to do it because it provides a moment of spirituality for me and a part of my high holiday preparation. And it's a menial task, something that anybody else could do. And certainly if it was a bigger synagogue, like I can imagine at Addis Israel or B'nai Israel, other people do this. It's not the senior rabbi who is changing the Torah covers, but I like doing it. And I reserve this job for myself because it's the little menial task that for me adds a sense of spirituality and reminds me, the high holidays are quickly approaching, because I always change them on the day after Slichot. Slichot being the Saturday night service before the high holidays, like the usher in the high holiday season. So the next day, Sunday, before morning minyan, I change the Torah covers, and that's my private moment to be able to, for me, to spiritually get into high holiday mode. So I like this idea. So that's my personal connection to this. It's not the ashes, but it's the menial work. But also in general, just the idea that menial tasks are supposed to be done by the Kohanim as well. You don't hire custodians. There's no custodial service listed here in the book of Leviticus. It's the Kohanim themselves who are doing the custodial work. And that the custodial work then, because the Kohanim are doing them, the custodial work is just as holy as every other part of the work as well. Okay, so that to me is an important lesson. And I think it's important for people today to recognize that all aspects of worship today are holy aspects. Okay, it's how you're dressing up to come to shul. It's the getting to shul. It's the being in shul. It's the preparing the kiddush for after shul, because I think kiddush is just as important as the service itself too. The sense of community building that happens at the kiddush table, all of that is all holy work, part of Shabbat and part of what it means to be part of a holy community. So if someone were to ask me what I think an important section in the Torah is, I would say that this verse is one of the important verses of the Torah. Okay. One other section I want to look at is on page 618, which is a section dealing with the Todah. Okay, so look on page 617. This is the third Aliyah. So if you're not using Eitz Chaim, it's the start of the third Aliyah, chapter 7, verse 11. Okay, or in the Eitz Chaim, the bottom of 617, verse 11. V'zot Torat Zevach Hashlamim Asher Yakriv Ladonai. This is the Torah of the peace offering that would be brought to God. Im al Todah Yakrivenu, if it's in gratitude or thanksgiving here, but gratitude. Todah, in modern Hebrew, Todah means thank you, right? So im al Todah, if it's for gratitude, Yakrivenu, he brings it. V'hikriv al Zevach HaTodah, and he offers on the Todah sacrifice chalot matzot bilulot bashemen, matzah loaves soaked in oil, urikike matzot meshuchim bashemen, and unleavened matzah wafers anointed with oil, v'solet morbechet chalot bilulot bashamen, and cakes of choice flour with oil mixed in, well soaked. Okay, al chalot lechem chametz yakriv korbano, on loaves of chametz bread he should offer his sacrifice, al zevach todat shlamav, for the sacrifice of the well-being of his gratitude. Okay, so this is just the essential elements of the Todah. Verse 4, well, let's just finish up 14 and 15. V'hikriv mimenu echad mikol korban truma ladonai, and out of this he shall offer one of each kind as a gift to God. La kohen, to the kohen, hazorek et dam hashlamim lo yihiyeh. It shall go to the priest who dashes the blood of the offering of well-being. Uvisar zevach todat shlamav b'yom korbano yeyachel lo yaniach mimenu ad boker. And the flesh of the Todah peace offering sacrifice, on the day of its offering it should be eaten. Don't leave it until the next morning. Okay, so this Todah, this gift of thanksgiving that you're offering, needs to be eaten on that same day. So this is something that the Kohen eats from, and it's possible the person offering it gets a piece of it to eat as well. So the commentary below the line is what I wanted to look at. Several commentators connect the requirement that the Todah be eaten on the day it is offered and on the following evening to the fact that it is brought in response to a miracle in the life of the donor. So in other words, the logistics for this would be, let's say you bring it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You have that afternoon and evening to eat it. You can't leave it until dawn the next morning. Okay, so you have to eat it. If you offer it at 2 o'clock or whatever time of day, you have through the evening through dinner time to consume it. So the question is, it is in response to the miracle. Whatever happened in your life to bring this Thanksgiving is what you're responding to by bringing it. And you want to respond to it that day. So whatever happened that moment, you respond to it in that moment. Let's say a birth of a child, or there's a list in the comment before this. It lists from the Mishnah, the rabbinic interpretation. It says when one has, so this is the first line below the line on the left-hand column, when one has safely completed a dangerous journey, recovered from illness, been released from confinement, or survived other dangers. So those are 4 circumstances that would warrant bringing the Todah. Okay, so it's not looking out the window or looking at Jules' background, how beautiful the blossoms are on the tree, and you don't bring a Todah for that. You bring a Todah for completing a dangerous journey, recovering from an illness, being released from confinement, that is, being released from jail, or survived other dangers. So for that, the day that you have completed that, that would be the day that you would bring this Todah offering. Abravanel, so now I'm continuing with the commentary on the right-hand column. Abravanel is a commentator who lived around the time of the expulsion of the Jews from Spain in 1492. Abravanel says that if it must be consumed in a single day, the owner will invite more people to share it, thus publicizing the miracle more widely. Right? So if you know that you've survived this occurrence and you're going to bring the Todah offering, bringing it, so I was in Costco yesterday with my wife to do some shopping for Passover, right? If you go into Costco, at least not every Costco has this, but if the Costco that you go into has a halal section to it, go into the halal frozen section and you will see half a lamb in the halal section. Okay, now half a lamb, a baby sheep, is a small animal, but this half a lamb that's in the freezer section of the halal section of Costco is huge. One person can't eat that. Two people can't eat that. You have to invite a bunch of people over in order to eat it, right? And it has to be consumed by nightfall, right, or before dawn the next day. So that's what Bravanel is suggesting. You're going to invite people to do. It's like the Passover sacrifice too. The Passover sacrifice is a lamb or a baby goat, either one, and you have to do it with your family, and if people in your family aren't enough to consume the goat or lamb, you do the Passover sacrifice with a bunch of people. All right, so that's the main reason why the Seder is supposed to be with a lot of people to remind us of how the original Passover sacrifice was offered. So Abravanel is suggesting that when you're in this mood of Thanksgiving for this special time, you're going to augment that mood by having a lot of people celebrate that mood with you. And so the commentary goes on with the quotation marks there. On being asked what prompted this feast, the host will recount some good fortune and the divine wonder it represents, right? So, and being asked, why are we invited to this last minute party today? Huh? And then the host will say, this is why I invited you. And by telling the story of what the special occasion was, what miracle occurred in your life to survive, you're like giving gratitude to God too, which is all about what the Seder is too. Right? Why are we eating? The four questions. Why are we eating this Passover sacrifice tonight? Right? Which isn't, it's one of the original four questions. It's not one of the questions we ask today because we don't offer the Passover sacrifice anymore. But still, why are we here tonight? And you're supposed to tell the story of Passover, augmenting, wow, what did God do for us 3,000 years ago in setting us free from Egypt? So that commentary goes on. We should have confidence that each new day will produce its own miracle. So that's why it has to be done in that day. Don't extend the miracle to the next day because maybe another miracle will happen tomorrow. Therefore, the feast celebrating a miraculous event should be confined to one day and not extended into the next. Tomorrow will bring its own miracle. And the author of this comment is a Hasidic rabbi, the Gerer Rebbe, who suggests this idea, right? And we want miracles to happen every day. We don't want to extend the miracle from one day into the next. And then the commentary ends with this thought: in time to come, there will be no sacrifices except for the offering of thanksgiving. Then there will be no prayers except the prayers of thanksgiving, right? There'll be no other reason to bring a sacrifice. There won't be any guilt offerings. You're not guilty of anything in the time to come because we're all good, pure people. Our souls will be constantly pure. There'll be no other reason, no sin offering or anything else, but even when we're just pure, there'll be reasons to be thankful, and that would be the prayer and the offering that would be brought then. Any questions or comments? Because otherwise, this is what I wanted to end here for today. This is what I wanted to share with us. I hope everybody has a happy and healthy Passover. Again, next 2 weeks, no class. So the next session will be whatever Wednesday is, 17th, 18th, 19th. Maybe I think April 19th is that 2 Tuesdays from today. I'm just checking my calendar. Yes, the 19th. April 5th is the Seder, and April 12th is the 7th day of Pesach. So the 19th will be the next time we meet. So happy and healthy Passover, everybody. Take care.
Thank you. Happy Passover.